Tuesday, 23 June 2026. 3 Asia-Pacific AI stories before your first coffee. Singapore's Infocom Media Development Authority has published a voluntary governance framework specifically targeting agentic AI, the class of systems that plan, decide, and act with minimal human oversight. The framework centers on 3 operational controls: hard limits on what an agent can do, mandatory logging of every action chain, and a kill switch or rollback mechanism that lets a human halt or reverse an agent's decisions. Separately, the Monetary Authority of Singapore has released a companion toolkit scoping AI risk controls for the financial sector, and AIinAsia signed an AI safety research agreement with Microsoft in June to stress test agentic deployments. Why it matters? Singapore is making a deliberate bet that a fast, voluntary reference framework will shape regional norms before any binding statute can move through ASEAN legislative cycles. Builders deploying autonomous agents in regulated sectors, especially finance, insurance, and trade logistics, now have a concrete checklist to design against, which lowers compliance ambiguity but raises the engineering bar on logging and reversibility. Regulators across the region, from Bangkok to Jakarta, are watching whether the voluntary model attracts enough adoption to become a de facto standard. The second-order effect to track is whether cloud and platform vendors start embedding AIinAsia-aligned guardrails into their agent toolkits as a distribution play, effectively turning Singapore's soft law into hard product defaults across Southeast Asia. So, Oracle confirmed it cut roughly 21,000 roles globally in 2026, telling investors that software now handles tasks previously done by people. Database administration and routine solution engineering, 2 staples of Asia's IT services trade, sit squarely in the blast zone. India's overall tech headcount still grew according to NASSCOM figures, but the composition of hiring has shifted hard toward AI, cloud, and data skills, signaling that volume alone no longer buys job security in the region's largest services exporter. Why it matters? Asia's outsourcing giants, from Tata Consultancy Services to Infosys, built their margins on abundant junior talent doing repeatable work at scale. When a hyperscaler like Oracle automates its own support stack, the downstream demand for that same repeatable work shreds across every client contract. Indian majors are already rewriting what a graduate hire must know on day one, pivoting intake toward AI engineering and integration rather than traditional database roles. Capital allocators watching services margins should track not just headcount, but revenue per employee as the real tell. The durable competitive edge is migrating from price and scale toward judgment, system integration, and client trust, a shift that rewards fewer, higher-skilled operators and compresses the traditional labor arbitrage model that powered 2 decades of Asian IT growth. Now, Seoul's National Police Agency has extended its national crackdown on deepfake sexual abuse, logging 1,827 offenses and making 1,438 arrests under the broader enforcement campaign. Hong Kong police separately dismantled a deepfake romance and investment scam ring worth roughly $46 million, with a connected operation targeting victims across Taiwan, Singapore, and Malaysia. The parallel actions signal that law enforcement agencies across Asia are now treating AI-generated synthetic media not as a novelty threat, but as mainstream volume crime. Why it matters? The enforcement power tells operators and platform builders that regulatory tolerance for synthetic media misuse is collapsing fast across multiple Asian jurisdictions at once. South Korea's arrest numbers show police have operationalized detection at scale, which means compliance teams at social platforms, dating apps, and fintech services serving Korean or Southeast Asian users need to treat deepfake screening as a baseline obligation, not a roadmap item. Hong Kong's Bus highlights a second front. Synthetic faces in live video now let a single fraud operation manage dozens of victim relationships simultaneously, compressing the economics of romance schemes. Capital allocators should watch for a pull forward in demand for real-time media authentication tools, particularly from financial institutions in ASEAN markets where cross-border scam exposure is hardest to police. That is your AIinAsia briefing for today. Stay sharp, bid well, see you tomorrow.